I broke my family's all women must have children rule at 29. Now at 40, I am the only one they call when their marriages are falling apart. My grandmother had 6 children, my mother had 4. Every woman in my extended family had at least 3 kids before 30. It wasn't just tradition, it was expectation. Our family reunions looked like small armies, with my aunts competing over who had the most children while my uncles nodded approvingly. I was always the question mark while my cousins played house. I built science projects. When relatives asked about future babies at family dinners, I'd change the subject. But when I turned 25 with no husband or children in sight, the questions turned pointed. Your eggs don't stay fresh forever, my aunt reminded me at my cousin's baby shower. The family name depends on reproduction, my grandfather announced at Thanksgiving. When I mentioned my promotion at the research lab, my mother was gentler but persistent. I just don't want you to wake up at 40 and regret not having children, she'd say, showing me photos of my cousin's babies at 29 after ending a relationship with a man who desperately wanted children. I scheduled a tubal ligation I'd known for years. Motherhood wasn't for me, but making it permanent felt like breathing freely for the first time. The night before my procedure, I called my mother. I'd rehearsed my explanation for weeks, how I loved my career in medical research, how I thoroughly considered this decision, how I could contribute to our family in other ways. She listened in silence, then said only, "Your grandmother would be ashamed after my surgery." The family divide was immediate and absolute. I wasn't uninvited from gatherings, but I became invisible at them. Subsidiations went quiet when I approached. My childless status became immoral, failing no career success could redeem. My mother told relatives I was still healing from something traumatic to explain my choice. My father stopped mentioning my achievements to his friends. At my cousin's wedding, an aunt asked if I'd considered freezing my eggs before it's too late. Unaware, I'd already ensured it was. I built a life they couldn't understand: international research projects, close friendships, a beautiful home filled with objects that weren't childproof. I dated men who didn't want children and women who celebrated my choices. I became the fun aunt who took nieces and nephews to science museums and taught them to make volcanoes in the kitchen. 3 years after my surgery, my sister called in tears. Her husband had moved out, leaving her alone with 3 children under 5. Could she stay with me just for a weekend? That weekend turned into 3 months. While she pieced herself back together, I became the stable adult for her children, making lunches, attending parent-teacher conferences, helping with homework. When she finally moved out, she hugged me and whispered, "I didn't know you could be so good with kids." I love children, I explained. I just didn't want to be a mother. The shift happened slowly. First, another cousin called during her divorce, needing a place where her ex couldn't find her. Then my youngest sister, overwhelmed with postpartum depression, asked if I could take her newborn for a night so she could sleep. The first full night's rest she'd had in months. By the time I turned 40, I had become the family emergency contact, the one with a spare bedroom, stable finances, and emotional bandwidth when marriages collapsed, childcare fell through, where health crises struck. Last Thanksgiving, my mother watched as I helped 3 nieces with college applications. Later, she found me alone in the kitchen. "You know," she said quietly, "I used to think you were selfish for not having children. Now I see you've mothered this entire family just differently." She paused, then added something that made my eyes fill with tears. "I'm sorry for not understanding sooner." The irony isn't lost on me. By breaking the tradition that defined womanhood in my family, I became the foundation many of them rely on. My home, child-free by choice, has become a sanctuary for children and adults needing refuge. My cousins who once pitied me now ask how I knew myself so well at 29. Some have begun telling their daughters there are many ways to be a woman in this world. The toxic tradition wasn't just that women must have children. It was that a woman's value could only be measured by her reproductive choices. By standing firm against that measurement, I may have lost my place in the family for a decade, but I gained something more valuable. I helped redefine what family contribution means for the next generation, and that legacy will outlast any tradition.